Hello, welcome back to Actual Play. We're playing Traveler Moons of Leviathan. During the break, I literally just bought a first edition copy of Traveler that I found on eBay. I was like, I have Traveler like fifth edition or whatever the current one is on PDF, and I have owned a copy of an older version, but I think it didn't survive a move a while back. And now I'm like, now I want one, mostly for nostalgia purposes, but it was a pretty good deal. So I was like,
It's interesting, and I think it's a really interesting game. I think the layout, I mean, just the cover layout, I think is like 10 years ahead, 20, 30 years ahead of anything that was currently out. I think it's just really cool. It really captures, like, I would pick this up and read it. I mean, I feel like, uh, the old 70s games that they looked kind of gonzo and fun in a way that is scrawled in the note in the margins of your high school notebook or junior high notebook.
yeah,
But like, there's something about this. It's like, oh shit, a grown up made this. Like, it's not me putting down D&D. I play D&D every damn Thursday. I don't want to hear it, but there's just something really crisp, and it looks like a game from the future. It just does, which I think is really interesting and successful.
yeah,
um, and the white letter, the just the white lettering and the red line and then the red title, and it's really good. I'm super impressed by it. Uh, and yeah, I don't think we're too far off from how it was played back in the day,
yeah.
or how, I don't know, how the text is telling us to play. I'm sure we're very far off from how it was played back in the day, but the other thing about it is that it promised, um, any kind of science fiction, and then didn't give you a specific. And so I bet there were people back in the day who ended up where we are, where they just kind of rolled their way into a really weird science fiction thing
Yeah.
and had to kind of wing it. And I don't know. I want to find these folks someday. I want to.
Have a gathering of Traveler players to share their experiences.
Yeah, I'm curious when they just like went beyond the box and were just,
Yeah.
they were just like, we have traveled way beyond where this was going to take us.
I,
It just,
We've talked about this last time, or maybe the time before, a little bit about the fact that since we don't have a really, like, we only have fragments of a setting, we've been having a little bit of setting that we've been building up over time. But because it isn't this super invested, detailed setting, we're also very willing to be like, cool, now let's switch it around in fundamental ways. And we're not too attached to it. And so I think that's also a real strength of this, is that, like, we've built up things that are important to us, but a lot of things were, yeah, let's see what that looks like in 10,000 years. you know, so I'm excited about that as well. And I wonder how many other groups, yeah, have that same feeling of like, yeah, we can change this, change what we're doing.
yeah.
Rad. So yes, I think we made it out of orbit, right? We blast through the cloud giant. We have all these, as you said, all these trails falling behind us of different colors, and um, and I mean, I know for sure Alexei is, holding his breath the whole time as we're getting through the outer ionosphere and looking at all the navigational displays to see if anything is about to impact us. And when we finally break through, uh, there's this moment of silence for him, and then there's a huge cheer, like more elation than he's probably felt in a really long time.
Right.
Of this thing that he didn't think was possible happening.
Yeah. And I think the whole crew on the bridge joins you. I think they all realize they've done something, historic. and you know, there's a lot of hugging um, and clapping of shoulders and maybe even some tears as one of the engineers one of the engineering nuns turns and says, Saint Theano's orbit is in place. We are stable. Or Ithaca Station is stable in Saint Theano's orbit.
Oh,
That
so
is what
good.
she says. Yeah, and I think like that's like the moment, you know, where everyone kind of
Yeah, right. That's like when like when NASA announces that the land rover has like that the rover has landed and is safe, right? Like it's that same thing of like, it's like a million things could go wrong, and when you finally get confirmation, um, yeah, that's great. Um, uh, what does what does the I think when I just like look out the window, you know, like rather than reading navigational spectrums, like when I look now that we're outside the giant, does the does the Leviathan look like I remember it? I mean, like the
yeah,
names and
I think it totally does. And I think like as a matter of fact, like as you look at it, you know, the eye kind of creeps across uh the horizon and you know, as if it is looking at you. I think
nice.
there is that tangible feeling of, you know, it wants me back or whatever it is that you're feeling about it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
dig it.
As you look at it, do we want to roll on this? Do we want to read a sitch? Do you want to?
I mean, I think there's only one way for me to commune with the Leviathan, and that is to open my brain,
Yeah.
which I don't really want to do.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess no, Rita Stitch makes sense. I mean, on a like will this thing suck us back in, etc. That totally makes sense. But I think if I really want to understand what's going on with the Leviathan at all, like that, that's using psychic abilities. Um, I do think I'd like to read a Sitch, and it's. I think I actually have to flinch away from looking at the Leviathan, and it's really about what is going on in the orbits of it, and what is going on with the other moons and stations and things like that. Um, how stable this form of government that my great grandson is trying to create is, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's in a way it's actively looking away. It's actively like I can't let myself get sucked into that because if I stare into the abyss, I know for a fact it stares right back. Like it's not a question. Uh,
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think if there's the opportunity for it, like if there's time to sort of like take in some of that, what's going on in the world around, I would love to read a Setch. Let's do that.
Cool.
I'm gonna roll leadership this time because it's really just about like what's
Yeah.
happening with the world. Got a 7.
Cool. Is that one question? Is that what it is?
Yeah, that is one question.
Cool.
Um, I think this is the most interesting one. Just in this, like, what's going on? What should I be on the lookout for? That
Um,
sounds.
yeah. A lot has changed, but there were really long-standing generational forces at work trying to hold those power structures in place.
Yeah,
So I think what occurs to you to look for is uh is the dying remnants of those power structures
sure.
and how they're going to lash out.
Yeah, that feels really real to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Yeah,
it's a good question.
yeah. Well, the other ones, yeah, yeah. That's great. I think I'm going to. I think I think we can. I think Alexei is sort of, he has to overcome a fear of messing with things, but once he does, he's very. It's like as soon as he gets over the mental block of probably shouldn't know too much about what's going on, and decides, I guess I'm here now. I guess this is
Yeah,
the time that I'm in, and I'm going
yeah,
to live in this time. That's when he just starts like, okay, now I need to know what's happened in the last 200 years, and what the fuck that asshole Nestor, and what the shit, Paris's family, and all these other people who I think would just be, even 200 years later, haunting me and haunting are, trying to seize control for themselves, trying to undo, what Leto's done and all that. So that yeah, those are absolutely the folks. And I think I might just be kind of lost in that until we cut to meeting my the Leto sister, right? Like I'm happy to have that as just something that he starts doing, and doesn't you know doesn't have anything conclusive until immediately, because it feels like that's something that would take a long time to absorb all of that.
yeah. I mean, I think you kind of get lost in looking at, once you decide and realize that you're going to be here for a bit. You kind of get lost in the flow of the data, and
Yeah,
you're given honorary quarters, with good holographic uh, inputs, and uh, you look around at what the world looks like, and it's a world in transition. It's a big hot, with what Leto has inherited is a hot mess,
yeah,
and he's trying to change it. Him and his family are clearly trying to change it for the better. And I think you see him, march to the capital moon, and one second, I'm about to call. Went down the wrong pipe. You see him march into the capital moon with his honor guard and his sister, and take the throne back from his Reverend Mother's sister, who was sitting on it for a while. And I went down this rabbit hole of Dune Reverend Mother names during the break, and I had no idea
nice.
that of course they had three names, right? If you think about the main one that you see, Gaius, Helen, Mohiam. The first was a Latin male name, the second an English female name, and the third an Arabic or exotic name, which is an eye-rolling thing. But whatever. It's just one of the many ways that Dune is weird
Yeah,
and problematic. So anyway, you see her name for the first time, and I gave her name is Mother Hypatia, a Reverend Mother Hypatia Helen Jackson, and I forget where I got Hypatia. I think Hypatia is a mathematician. Helen is just a cool Greek mythological name, and then Jackson is after Mary Jackson, who was the NASA's first Black female engineer.
nice.
And so I think this world is far away from Earth and doesn't realize its earthly tethers or who Mary Jackson is, but clearly there's some memory
Right,
somewhere, and so like that's a name that a Reverend Mother of the engineering nuns would have to honor this ancient math saint who came from old Earth, old with an e at the end, and Earth spelled all kinds of weird ways.
sure.
So yeah, you see that transfer of power, over the hollow vid, and yeah, I think you get an electronic missive uh, from the Reverend Mother saying, I'm sure you are uh, easing into your new temporal home, I would like to meet and discuss your journeys. When you feel available, reply, and I will send. I will send. I will send someone to come get you and bring you to me.
And I think I'm gonna wait until I have just enough information that I've kind of gathered. I want to know who has the most to lose and who has the most to gain from the. This is sort of the extension of what should I be on the lookout for, right? Like you said, like this is the dying vestiges. Like I want to know a few of the houses that have the most to lose and the most to gain from this transition, right? Like the people who are um, for better or worse, in the down and outs, who aren't being well represented, who aren't having their needs met, and the people who are sitting comfortable and are afraid of losing the power, the position and status that they have.
Yep.
Um, and I think when I've got some sense of that, and I'm sure there's way too much that's happened over time to take it all in. But I'm really looking at like who are the noble families in the most power right now? What holdings do they have? And like,
Right. Right.
and also I think I search a few families from my name from my uh, time to see like if any of them have fallen out of power or if any of them have been lost over time, because those might be people that don't have a noble house anymore but still exist and still and might welcome a change. So
Yeah.
anyway, just looking for folks on other sides of that. And
Yeah.
then as soon as I sort of have that list, uh, I reply back to meet with her.
Cool. Yeah, I think robot servants are sent to come get you.
Yeah,
And I think like of everything that's different in this world, I think the robots are exactly the fucking same.
nice.
And they are these like torsos that are magnetically perched on these spheres and roll along. And they've got kind of like a head unit, also a sphere very often, and in order to make them more of kind of a human outline.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think a hover car is sent, and or not. Maybe it's like a some kind of flying dragonfly flying hella vehicle, and it picks you up and takes you across this forest moon to the Reverend Mother Hypatia Helen Jackson's temple.
What yeah, so what moon does the Leto and Hypatia Helen Jackson, what moon do they reside on? Where is the
Yeah,
throne? Like where's their home right now? Because obviously Ithaca just came back,
right.
so it's not been part of their lives. It's a historical monument from their perspective. So yeah, so where have they been? Because one of my big concerns was without a station, my family was going to just like fall apart, and that they wouldn't have a
Yeah,
home. So I wonder what's their new home?
yeah. I think it's on the moon that we saw, which is Messina.
Messina, yeah, cool.
Yeah. Um,
With the psychic tigers, by the way.
with psychic tigers. And as a matter of fact, I was petting my cat during the break. That was another thing I did, and telling her how much I liked her. She has this one tan toe that I think is adorable because, of course, I do. I'm smitten with a cat, and I was thinking that the Reverend Mother totally has has a pet psychic tiger.
Oh, nice.
Uh,
Yeah, of course.
and
That makes
and
sense.
yeah, I imagine that this temple is very much like a big Baroque, step pyramid dedicated to science. and you land on the upmost level, and are walked into her laboratory, her lab parlor, and there is her work is this diagram of the orbits that you don't, maybe you recognize, maybe you don't, and the she's checked off these various pieces um, of the orbits in different places. Some of them are like, one of them is on Ithaca Station, you notice, and one of them is off of it, and one is on a moon, and then it's this perfect Fibonacci circle that
Mm,
ventures into the Leviathan itself, um, and and it's this diagram with a lot of math and notes, and it's clearly like her life's work is up on this wall, and I think there are you know, lab assistant nuns, you know, on ladders, seeing to different parts of it, and putting things into their data pads. And yeah, she sweeps across the floor. I think in a long trailing habit, and a veil that uh, that hides her. I think she's got she's her head is shaved close, um, and I think her eyebrows are shaved off, and she has like these intricate uh, um, patterns of like tattoo patterns over her eyes,
nice.
rather than eyebrows, and yeah, she says, welcome to the end of an era. Uh, I don't know how to address you.
Um,
How would you like to be addressed?
I don't thank you. I don't think I have any title that means anything or should mean anything at this time. So, Alexi or Grandpa, whichever you prefer. Although I don't think I'm actually your grandfather. I think I'm a version. I think I am. I think I split apart in the timeline um, before I bore children. But maybe whichever. Alexi's fine.
Nice to meet you, Alexi. I have studied you quite a bit. And she like gestures to the board, like obviously this is all you, right? Like, and whether you see that it's you or not, she gestures to it as if like I've been studying you my whole life, and your journey is has been inspiring. I think the psychic tiger like walks past her and like touches her with his tail, with its tail, with her tail, and comes over and kind of like sniffs you.
Oh yeah, that freaks me out. I think the moment I like realize that I see the psychic tiger, my eyes kind of go wide. Obviously, it couldn't have gotten here by mistake. Um,
Right.
but I think my hand just like sort of unerringly like starts moving towards the true sword's hilt. Like
Yeah.
without like I think I have my hand on the pommel before I realize that
Yeah.
it's there.
Yeah.
Um,
I think the Reverend Mother is a little older than you, but she like steps across and like puts her hand on your wrist, like a strong hand, like not grabbing it, but like just putting it there,
yeah.
cupping it, and says, "Don't let Abacus." I'm sorry, uh, Abacus is domesticated. He's perfectly safe. She is perfectly safe. I I've studied you my whole life, and this was poorly thought out. I'm sorry. I should have left her in another room. Your entire Castaway experience began because of a crash and a run-in with psychic tigers. I did not think that through. You've been an academic subject for so long. Meeting the man behind it is disorienting for me.
And I think he just sort of he's just really like watching her for a while, trying to take all this in, and says, and looks at the grandeur of all this, and says, um, "I I've made far larger gaffes in my time times. Uh, I know you didn't mean any harm, but this is a lot to take in. Could we go somewhere smaller and quieter than all of this? And I don't think it's loud in terms
Yeah,
of noise, but I think it's loud in terms of like, oh my God. It's like when he realizes that this is all a study of him, because he's like, oh, this is pretty art. He's like, what? Like, you have me under a microscope? This feels really
yeah,
invasive
yeah,
in a way that like you couldn't expect someone not to do this. Of course, someone's going to study a time traveling phenomenon, but it also now feels really personal, and he feels very naked
yeah.
and like, can we go find a quieter space? Um, and
She takes you into a quieter, darker, more soothing space,
yeah,
and I think it's it's a little alcove away from it. And I think like as you're walking by the giant map with the Fibonacci spiral,
yeah,
you realize that the Fibonacci spiral are all of the jump points where you've gone to different times.
right.
And as you've traveled, your travels have gone closer and closer and closer to the Leviathan until you were in it. And she says, "I'm sorry, I did not mean to overwhelm you. I'm very used to having to deal with people with power and overwhelm them with information in a way that gets my needs done and my goals met."
I'm sure you've become very proficient at using this knowledge. And from my understanding of your brother, from my understanding from what I've learned from your brother, you've done it. You've put it to very good use. I can't fault you for finding the tools that work for you. I just feel really exposed by all this.
Of course you do. And I think like she pushes the veil back and like puts it, back behind, like just reveals her face
Yeah,
and like bids Abacus to go sit on a big pillow in the corner and says, "It's been a long time since I just sat down with another person and had a conversation. How are you?"
Number one and most important question: how much does she look like Astara? Is it like, oh, I
Yeah.
can tell they're related, or is it like, oh my god, she's the fucking spitting image of my sister?
Um, I think she looks like Astara, but yeah, Astara was kind of like, you know, a space jock,
Oh, totally, yeah.
and this is yeah, but
Did, did
she
they hire the
definitely
same actor, but then do some,
totally,
cosmetics and CGI to,
totally.
yeah,
And
yeah,
like, oh, it's a good thing that this movie didn't get made for 10 years after the first one because we got the same actor who played Astara and she fit it perfectly, right?
right, right, awesome,
Yeah,
awesome,
totally.
awesome, cool,
Totally.
yeah, yeah. So it's like one more weird thing for Alexei to take in, but also a comforting one. And like he has to like hold himself back from just reaching out and giving her a hug. But he does appreciate, her approaching him as a person rather than as a academic subject.
Yeah.
And and he finally like relaxes a little bit. And he's like, as I'm much better now that I'm here. Um, I'm eager to help in the work that you're doing and the work that your brother's doing, but I'm afraid of the impact that I would have. In all your studies, can you tell if it's now time for me to set down roots? Because in the previous incidences, I've only been around for a moment before I was pulled away again. And in the far future, it seemed very important that I not learn too much or interfere too much. I think that depending on the time that I'm in, the impact I can have is greater or lesser.
Cool. So as you're talking, and I think Rita Sitch, I want to know if Lexi notices the hunter seeker that enters the room to kill him.
Nice.
And I think the hunter seeker is straight out of Dune. It's the little floating uh, assassination drone that burrows into your skin and finds its way to your brain as quickly as possible. And let's see if you notice.
I think I'm going to be rolling Blade for this.
Oh, interesting.
Because I think it. I mean, if I'm perceiving it in the if I'm picking this up in the same way that you, or the way I'm envisioning it from you described it, is that it's going to move. The way I'm going to identify it and recognize it is that it's going to move like uh, an opponent's blade would. Like I'm going to look at the reflection and notice the light shifting around it or something like that. Does that seem right to you as
Yeah,
a?
I'm down with that. I'm always up. Like I'll call you on bullshit when I think it's bullshit, but I think that sounds good.
Yeah. All right. I got a 7, so
Okay.
there's something.
Yeah. I think ask a question. I mean, it's up to you, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like you sort of gave me what I should be on the lookout for, right? Or what's the biggest threat to me here?
Yeah.
Yeah. What represents the best opportunity for me to disable or capture or prevent this thing
Yeah.
from? Yeah.
I think like you notice it at the same time that like I think uh sister mother Hypatia Helen Jackson is kind of letting herself be vulnerable for a moment. And so she misses it. But like you and Abacus notice it at the same moment. And
Yeah.
so like uh you could let Abacus pounce on it and he might die, but that would end it, right? Like that would be one way to deal with it.
Yeah. Um, having my uh, having my great granddaughter's pet tiger die at the moment I meet her. It's not. I mean, obviously, there's a split second moment, but I'm not ready to give up those around me. I don't have any relationship with Abacus.
Yeah.
But I'm not willing to just like throw someone who's ostensibly connected to somebody I care about
Yeah.
into the mercy, something like that. So I think I look at Abacus and then I look at the thing and then there's a flash and the reflection of light that it that I saw is met by the true blade
Nice.
as I like just like sort of pull it out of the sheath just enough to sort of block the initial salvo. And
Cool.
yeah, I think I want to do battle with this thing. Like since I was aware of it,
Yeah.
does that feel right, or is it? Do you think I'm acting under fire to escape its initial attack?
That's interesting. The idea of doing battle with it is interesting. But my first instinct was to act under fire.
Yeah, that sounds
But
right.
okay,
Yeah. I mean, I know there's a threat and I want to avoid it, and then we can see how we go.
cool.
All right, so I'm gonna roll blade again because now I'm definitely
Yeah.
using the true blade,
Yep.
and I think I even I think as soon as I begin to wield it properly, I initiate the AI so that we see like the whole room gets mapped out. If this sounds okay to you,
Yeah.
based on the way you described like what the AI's intent is the whole room gets like mapped out like on like a checkerboard sort of grid, and the it's also these green lines over everything, and the hunter is like has holographic projections around it for me to like get estimates of its velocity and things like that. And I think at the like the corners of the room, my digital ancestors, my peers, the personas of the blade are there to kind of like give feedback as needed in the fight, much in the way that you might imagine a young Paul getting his training from a mentor.
Great.
You know,
Yeah. Love it.
yeah. And yeah, I'm going to act under fire. I don't think I am when you're acting under to have that to ask, answer frankly, and when you're acting on their answers,
Yeah. I
take
think you.
+1d.
Yeah. You get +1.
I can take +1 for the rate of stitch. Okay, cool. I'm not letting. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Do the dice gods still favor me? Well enough. Yeah, I got a 9.
Cool. Awesome. Uh. Yeah. Is that like a partial? That's a part. That's like a hit, but only a partial hit.
Yeah, acting under fire is a rough move. On a 7 to 9, you flinch, hesitate, or stall, and the MC can offer you a worse outcome, hard bargain, or unfortunate choice.
Oof. That's a rough one.
Yeah. I mean, it does say can, but I assume that you're in good faith. You know, that makes sense to do that. But, you know, unless there's
Yeah.
really a reason not to.
I think you draw your sword and cut it, and it starts to short out, but it gets into your arm,
Yeah.
and kind of burrows up your palm and like up your following your veins, trying to get to through your heart and then up to your brain.
Yeah.
But I think because you cut it, it just kind of burrows up your arm, and your granddaughter, the Reverend Mother, immediately makes a tourniquet, and I think the sword clatters to the ground, and Abacus kind of walks over you, because cats don't give a fuck. And I love cats, but they don't give a fuck. He like literally walks over you, and like the piece of the hunter seeker that's on the ground, he kind of like bats away like it's a toy.
Yeah.
And
Love it.
in honor of my cat, Pupper Cat, who when I fell over and got a concussion, jumped over me and into the open closet, because finally the closet door was open and she could get in there. That was how she showed, and she loves me in her way, but that was how she showed she loved me when I fell over and got the worst head trauma of my life.
Wow.
So anyway, in honor of that, that's what Abacus does is is takes the piece that you cut and backs it away. But I think you do take this horrific wound,
Yeah.
and blood is pouring everywhere, and
Yeah,
uh,
and I think no, even though I've destroyed the unit, like there's a fear for Alexei that the tendril, the payload, will still sort of do its damage, and so he's like, as my as my granddaughter is tourniqueting it, he like holds the the wound, but says, tries to stay as calm as he can. And I'm remembering a time when a friend of mine ran over my foot with his car and then stopped. And he didn't do it on purpose. It was an accident. But I said, Alex, put the car in reverse. And he said, what? I said, Alex, put the goddamn car in reverse right now. And I was fine. I mean,
yeah.
it was very swollen, but it did not break anything.
Wow.
Somehow. It rolled over my heel, so it was very, very not less bone, more meat.
We are disclosing medical trauma tonight. That's what we're
Yeah,
doing.
yeah.
It's that. It's
But
that game.
I think in this moment, Alexi's like, he's like, he says, um, Mother Hypatia, like he doesn't say her full name because he doesn't have time. This Mother Hypatia, I need the magnetic extractor immediately. And I
Right.
think that there needs to be, so that just in case, like it doesn't burrow all the way up. We need to like get
Yeah.
like a magnetic tool to pull it out, which I'm sure is just going to make the wound that much worse. But I think
Yeah.
that's the
The last thing you remember seeing before you pass out is Mother Hypatia putting her hand on your face, and you see her a look come over her face that you never saw over your sister, and you realize that she's using psychic powers, and the thing comes out of your arm, because of her telekinetic grab on it,
mm,
and then you pass the fuck out.
yeah,
And uh, when you come to, you're in a hospital on the moon. I think, fuck, it's the same hospital you were at, right?
I know it's got to
It's the
be.
same fucking one. And I think this
But I've been at
time,
multiple times now. It's the third time I've been
yeah,
here, at least.
yeah. And when you turn, um, I think the arm is gone, and like the the proposed arm that they want to put on you, but they haven't yet because you've got to be awake for that kind of thing, to give consent, and to, so that you don't just like smack yourself with a robotic arm. The robotic arm that they want to put on you is there, like at the foot of the bed, under, in a glass case, and that's the cybernetic arm that Alexei Tertiary had
Yeah,
when you saw him. And we've been at it 2 hours. I feel like that's a pretty good stopping point if
yeah,
you're
yeah.
game
I
for
think
it.
so too. I was just
Yeah,
gonna say. I was just gonna ask if it was the same arm. It's perfect.
yeah,
Um, uh, yeah, that's great. I feel like Alexi's one question, which is like, can I operate in this timeline? Like, can I start trying to like set down root? Like, can I? Am I just an observer, or can I be an active participant in this timeline? Like he kept trying to ask that to somebody, and I think that was answered by this attack. It's like, oh yeah, okay, sure, it's on. Like there's somebody here to
yeah,
kill me, like in a way that like gives him a permission of like, all right, you want to
yeah.
kill me? I'm gonna stop just like watching, and I'm gonna
Oh,
take
good.
action. So it's great.
That's
I'm
awesome.
delighted by that.
Awesome, awesome. I am looking, like, I feel like cool. Next game is Alexei takes the gloves off and is like, "Oh fuck it, I'll uh
Yeah,
um
let's go to town. Let's figure out who our enemies are, and let's make the third age happen.
yeah,
I've seen it from the rear view mirror. Now I
Right.
want to see it going forward, and
Awesome.
yeah, let's build a better universe. So I love all this. This is great.
Awesome.
Um,
And I like that we still have momentum because usually we end games at 9 sessions. When I saw this was session 9, I was like, "Oh shit, are we going to end it tonight?" I don't know. It's what we tend to do.
well, we
Sorry.
end games at 9 session, and then we start up follow up games from those.
Yes.
So it's
I feel like Alexi still has room to shake around a little bit. So
yeah,
a lot, or however much. The I don't know is the real thing. Is I have no fucking idea, and I'm curious to see.
yeah.
And I think that's cool.
Yeah, I love it. I'm excited as well, and I always feel like we might end it. There might be a time where like, okay, cool, that's the end of the story.
Yeah.
And I'm not there yet, but I'm also not like afraid. It could happen at any time. So
Yeah.
I'm happy to suss that out as we go. Thanks everybody who's been hanging out with us. This is a delight to play, and it's really fun to get people's perspectives as well as we're playing.
Yeah. We love
Um,
your questions. So thank you.
you'll ask very good questions and have really good insights, and so this has been super fun. I we this the actual play stream schedule. I honestly, to be totally real, as I've been getting preparing for Big Bet Online, I've been very bad about like keeping track of what the hell it is that we're doing. But generally speaking, Judd and I are playing on Fridays. Some Fridays, I think we'll be here next Friday
Yep.
again as well, and then it'll probably be a couple weeks before we're back. Jay is running One Ring on Thursdays, and Blades happening every other Tuesday, more or less. So Tuesday, Thursday, Fridays every other week, about ish. is what we are rolling on, and we'll probably stabilize again at the beginning of the new year after the holidays. We'll probably get back into a more regular rhythm, but in the meantime, hopping on and watching these games is if it's please join us if you have time.
Big Bad Con. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, yeah. We now have 20 hours, and I'm going to get the last 4. I'm going to talk to some folks in New Zealand, Australia, whatnot, because currently the last 4 hours we don't have booked are 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. 12 a.m. to 4 a.m. But I'm going to get those time slots filled, and my goal is to have 24 hours of freaking amazing high caliber industry panels that are both about practicum of working in gaming industry and of best practices in playing games. And I'm super stoked to have all these panels. It's a free event. Anybody can attend. Go to bigbadcon.com and Andy, I'm very glad that we're here to do chores with you. Sorry, I just saw that in chat. But go to bigbadcon.com and register there. It's free. And the reason why it's free is because we've had a fundraiser that has helped us pay for all the speakers and all the tech costs to make this happen. So I'm delighted. I'm delighted that um, you know we can now just say, please come enjoy it. And if you'd like to support the fundraiser, that's awesome too. But at this point, we've covered our costs, so we're in really good shape. Yeah, it's so many good panels.
Cool.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it up because it's
Yeah. Yeah.
going around the
Dude.
corner, October 23rd.
Yeah. That's a big fucking deal. That's a huge.
Yeah.
Awesome. If I'll talk to you off stream, but yeah, I feel like if you need someone to like run StreamYard or do something behind the scenes or moderate or whatever, I'll volunteer for whatever you need.
We do have a couple things spots, so yeah. After we end stream, I'll get you. I'll get you.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. What about you though, Jeff? What's going on in your world right now?
I'm blogging a bit. I've got a couple of so I get Yankee Diaspora. I've got some stuff, and I just put up. I mean, I put up a an actual play thread about our Thursday night game, but I also just put up a a cool blog post at Give Thank You Diaspora about about torture in games,
Mm.
and it came from there's a subreddit called DM Academy, and it's a bunch of young. The cool thing about D&D being so popular right now is there are lots and lots and lots of new people playing it and trying it, and so if you are an experienced gamer and you've got wisdom to share, you can go to DM Academy on any given day and answer questions, and people need it, and I love it. I think it's just a lot of fun. So someone said, my players are torturing every NPC they find to get information out of them, and so I gave my response, and it got real. The response is almost as popular as the thread, and uh, so anyway, I put it into a blog post, and just so it was kind of saved in a place that other people can see it,
Yeah.
I also talked about torture as a sign of frustration from players, back in Daydreaming About Dragons, episode 22. So I've got that link over there, and yeah, I feel like everybody needs to hear when they start gaming. Yeah, this is a time to put the game down and talk to your friends, and that moment, I've never done that and been like, "Oh, I was so sorry that we stopped playing and talked
Right.
as people." I've never made a mistake where it was like, "Well, we shattered immersion, and I'm really sorry that we did that." It was like, "No, I'm always glad." So, yeah. Anyway, that's what I've been doing lately. Is jumping on the subreddits with baby DMs and helping them become big and strong, and writing blog posts, and I've got a couple of episodes of Daydreaming in the can, so I've got to kind of just hit the button and get them out into the world, and so I'll do that probably this coming week. That's what I've been up to.
Cool.
Mostly making t-shirts.
Yeah, your
uh,
t-shirts are awesome.
I've got to get the Knight's Tale t-shirt is going to be the next one. That's got to get up there. I'll probably make that tonight since I've already got the Willow one in that format, so I'll just use the same. I'll probably use a similar font.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I'm up to.
Very cool. Well, friends, we're gonna say goodnight, and we'll see you again next Friday.
Yeah.
Thanks all.